And now, our feature presentation.
Hi, everybody. Steve Willis, along with Steve Detterman. It is the WD60 podcast. We are talking some Major League Baseball today. Steve, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. You know, I heard those famous 4 words this week that always gets me going. Pitchers and catchers report.
Oh, man.
Love that.
You know,
I tell you, nothing brightens up a cold winter, you know, especially because you go from the Super Bowl and you're going, okay, what's next? Awesome. Pitchers and catchers report. Oh, yes, baseball. Let's go.
Yeah, baseball time is here again. And with that, there was also a lot of crazy news in the offseason in baseball. And
we're losing people right and left.
Yeah, and of course that involves the Houston Astros. And now I can't. I can't get it out of it. Just before we started recording, I'm talking about the Houston Astros. And Steve utters the term. Go ahead.
I mean, okay, the Houston assholes.
That about killed me. I'm sorry.
It's just like, you know, I just can't believe you never heard that before.
As a Cubs fan, you would think that I would have heard that before, but I've never heard that before.
Oh, yes.
My hate was always geared towards the St. Louis Cardinals, of course. But
oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Well,
but I digress. Yeah. But Houston, of course, obviously getting in a lot of trouble over the last couple of months here with the investigation into sign stealing and using the cameras to steal signs, banging on the trash can to send the signal out to the batters and stuff. I mean,
it's amazing. I mean, it's like what they do. They have like a person in center field with the little flags, you know, flagging them. Okay, this flag, you like in the flagging the planes and for landing. They're out there,
almost like doing semaphore. It's
just, you know, it was amazing, you know. And the thing is this is the same team that you know. Remember a couple of years ago, St. Louis got charged with, you know, stealing things from the Astros, stealing the Astros secrets as far as their, you know, drafting and their, you know, rating of players and that, you know, their computer secrets and that. So I mean, it's a big turnaround from having someone else steal from you stealing against all of baseball.
Yeah, and really this. You know, sign stealing is not a new thing, obviously. Anybody that watches baseball knows that sign stealing is not a new thing. However,
cheating's not a new thing.
Yeah, but however, the way they went about it is really what crossed the line with Rob Manfred. Of course, he came out and said, look, you know, you can't stop teams from trying to steal signs. That's just what happens. But when you start using technology to do it, then it goes over the line. And that's exactly what they did. They started using technology against the other teams to steal signs. And of course, now we have a World Series or two, which is tainted because of this. So of course, baseball, not without its controversy every once in a while. And this is it. Now, the question for me is, if you are the on the losing end of these World Series games, how do you handle this? I mean, do you petition the league? Do you say, look, can we at least strike their World Series victories or something like that? No, that didn't happen. What did happen, however, is Houston had to scramble to get a new manager and a new general manager and stuff like that because you know, they basically wiped out the Houston front office. And
as they should. I mean, you know, first of all, let's go through what the discipline was.
Yeah, please.
Major League Baseball, you know, for the sign stealing scandal, they suspended general manager Jeff Luhnow and manager AJ Hinch for the entire 2020 season. The Astros promptly fired both of them. They also stripped them of 4 draft picks and they levied a $5 million fine. That's it.
Right.
You know, the 2017 World Series title they won, it remained with them. The records that they had remained with them. Now, the other fallout, Joey Cora, who had just been named manager or was the manager of the Boston Red Sox, was also let go. Carlos Beltran, who had just been named manager of the New York Mets, who played for the Astros during this time, was also let go.
Right.
And the thing is that when you go to Beltran, he was the only, of all the players there, he was the only player that was implicated. And there were other players there. But I think since Beltran took the step into being a manager, that's why his name was brought forward.
Right.
So, I mean, you had a lot of fallout from it. But, basically, Major League Baseball said, hey, we're going to take 4 draft picks. You're going to have to get rid of your GM and your coach because they aren't going to be there for a year. And we're gonna find you $5 million, which is a drop in the bucket nowadays. But that's a utility infielder right there. That's all you lost.
Right, exactly. And that, to me, it does sound. I mean, obviously the suspensions, the 1-year suspension, that's pretty good, pretty heavy suspension. But I still think for does the punishment fit the crime? I mean, if you ask me, I say no. The punishment does not fit the crime. I really think. I mean, you're talking about cheating on an extraordinarily high level. I mean, this is changing the outcome of games simply because you have way more information than the other team does. And
I agree with you. And the thing is I had a discussion with our good pal David May Jr. a little bit earlier this week.
David May, of course, being the head scout for the Toronto Blue Jays. David May
one of the scouts, one of the scouts for the Toronto Blue Jays. Who we'll talk about a former player from the Blue Jays here in just a little bit. But in discussing with David, I mean, the thing I looked at, I said, what they should have done. I like the idea of the suspension. And I think they should have gone a little bit more long term, maybe 2 to 3 years. Because you want to make sure these guys are out of baseball. But I think what they should have done is they should have stripped them of the 2017 title. No, you can't give it to the other team that they played.
Well, sure, no,
you just
they
leave
didn't
it.
win it.
You just no, and you don't know who else would have been there from the American League if Houston wouldn't have gotten there. So I mean, you just strip them of the title that year. There is no winner. But I mean, don't reward them for that. But you also got to take a look at what were the incentives and so forth that were realized from them winning that title, and your fine moves up that much. And that's what we head into the lawsuit. And and this is a lawsuit that was filed by a former Toronto Blue Jay pitcher, Mike Bolsinger, who said, who? Mike
no idea.
Bolsinger. Mike Bolsinger, who said his career was cut short after one game against the Houston Astros back in 2017, and he's asking for penalties of $31 million. Why $31 million? These are the bonuses that were paid out after that. And he's asking, in the lawsuit to for the $31 million to be returned and have it go to charitable causes focusing on bettering the lives of children.
Okay, so he's not asking for the money specifically.
No,
he's asking for it to be returned and
he's
donated.
asking,
which is admirable.
Asking it to be donated. But I mean, and we can go into the lawsuit too, because we got into that, and to me, it's a frivolous lawsuit. It really is. Because how do you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that one inning cost this guy his job? He's a journeyman pitcher. After the game, he gave up 4 runs in this game. They had already given up a ton of runs in the game before he got in there. He gave up 4 runs. The next day, he gets cut. He's a journeyman pitcher. I mean, we see that a lot.
Right.
Now, can you prove that they were cheating during that game? And this is where you get into this, and we had that talk. Is it wrong what they did? Yes, definitely. But can you prove that he did it? Now, when you do that, do you start going back to the steroid days of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds? How many times did those guys ruin a pitcher's career by wailing home runs on them?
Yeah, it really opens a very precarious Pandora's box. It really does when you start dipping into things like this. So yes, if you're a baseball fan, especially a fan of the history of the game, you're probably going to keep a sharp eye on this lawsuit, because it very well could lead to other potential lawsuits and in other situations, just like you had said. And boy, that would be a terrible place for this to go. It really would.
Can you imagine how that would be if this lawsuit proceeds to go? I mean, you're going to bring up, every cheating incident. The cork bats, the pine tar, the Gaylord Perry with all the junk that he had on his hat and everything else that he pitched with. All those different things that you can bring up. But hey, let's get back to the Astros. What does this mean to them? I mean, they lost their manager, they lost their general manager, they get fined, they get the tarnish. You think there'd be some remorse, don't you?
No, not at all.
None.
Nobody.
None.
Nobody. Not a single soul feels bad for him. Maybe outside of Astros fans, like, oh well, it didn't really do it. And then but the worst part is they don't. They came out basically saying, hey, look, what we did, it didn't affect the game. That was the ownership. No. That came right out of the ownership. What we did didn't affect the game.
Right.
Well, then why would you do it? If it doesn't affect the game, why would you do it? I mean, seriously.
Because everybody else is.
If you're gonna say, well, what we did didn't affect the game, bull crap. You wouldn't have done it. You wouldn't have done it if you didn't think it was going to give you an advantage. Everything every player and every manager and every part of ownership does in baseball, in any sport, you do it to try and give you an advantage, or you do it to try and help you win. If you're not going to say, oh, well, one of our guys was out bird watching one day, and he happened to notice that he could see the pitcher's hand, and he could see the catcher's fingers down between his legs, and he thought, oh, hey, wouldn't this be neat if we can match up the signs to the actual pitches? Boy, wouldn't this be cool? It's not going to change the game any, but it'd be pretty cool to try it out.
Let me give you kind of an example here, Steve. You have two kids. How old are they? How old? 10
and 8.
Okay. And how many times do they say, well, everybody else is doing it. It didn't really matter. It's just
more than I can count.
With kids.
More than I can count.
This is the reason. This is the reasoning that the Astros have. Well, it didn't make a difference. Everybody else is doing it. Yeah, you know what? Are there other teams cheating? You got to believe there are other teams cheating.
Sure.
Here's the thing, though, Houston. You got caught, and you got caught big time.
Yep.
I'm just trying to figure out the thing I loved about this is they were banging on trash cans.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, do they have a certain beat for it? Do they have, hey, when we get to the Ramba beat, this is it. When we get to the other beat, this is it. Yeah. We're banging on trash cans. Really, no one thought that was kind of odd during the game, that all of a sudden during pitches, people are beating the hell out of trash cans?
You start hearing the 20th Century Fox theme play.
Yeah, no, and the thing is what kind of trash cans do you have that can take up that beating for 9 innings? I want one of those for my yard. I mean, I've watched what the garbage man does with the one I have right now.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be a Rubbermaid. It can't be one of those metal trash cans.
I mean, I got to get one of those cans, but if it's not metal, can you hear it?
I don't know. Well, maybe. I don't know. I could hear it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go outside and beat on a trash can now to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the one thing I thought that was the funniest, I saw a meme on social media where they showed I think they showed Altuve stay up there, the new batting helmets for the Houston Astros, and they had like these headphones and everything else with the little speaker coming down as they're standing up to bat, coming off of their helmet. Yeah, there you go.
Got a communication device in there. It's like a football player's helmet, like a quarterback's helmet, talking to the offensive coordinator.
But if you listen to this, I mean, you listen to some of these things. They talk about Altuve and Correa having devices on their body that they were under their shirts, and they got to the point where I think Altuve hit a home run, and he kept holding on his shirt because he didn't want him to rip the shirt off because he didn't want him to see what he had underneath it.
Oh my God.
You start listening to some of this stuff, and you start hearing this and seeing this. You go, my God, what the hell were they doing?
Right. It just becomes more insane the more you know about it.
And how do you expect not to get caught?
Right. And
that's, I mean, you can remember, as a Cubs fan, you can remember all the days of having the big scoreboard out in center field. How many times people complained about the scoreboard operator flashing signals to the Cubs batters?
Oh, right, and of course, nobody ever proved that they did it or didn't do it and didn't prove anything.
No.
So once again, if you're not caught, you're not punished. And that's just kind of the way that it goes. But, of course, for the Astros, it didn't work out like that.
Yeah, let me ask you this question. I mean, was the fallout good enough? I mean, Cora losing his job, Beltran losing his job. Is that warranted that you go back and get these other guys as well, even though they're not there?
Well, I kind of think the way they did it, going after the former players that are now in management roles, as long as as well as the management that was there, I kind of feel like that. Yes, you really have to reach that far, just because you don't want these people around baseball to say, okay, look, we got caught doing it this way, but it worked. So as long as we are, as long as we're real cool about how we do things, we can kind of cheat this way. So you really don't want that culture to start developing around different teams. So to nip that in the bud, I think is probably the best way to do it.
And the thing is, Steve, it wasn't baseball. It wasn't Major League Baseball that did this. They indicated or they implicated Cora and Beltran. It was the Red Sox and the Mets that then took action on them.
Yes.
Now, and that's where I say, it is, when we take a look at baseball's punishment, there's no punishment on a player.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about just what Major League Baseball did. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
I thought the implications of it going out, but those are more based on those teams, and I take a look at this. Not a single player was fined. Not a single player received a suspension.
Right.
And the thing is, these were the guys that were padding the stats. These are the guys that were getting the rewards off of this.
Right. And
a player receives a lot more monetary dollars than a coach or a general manager.
Right, and that actually is the reason why we're at this new stance by a one much maligned Pete Rose for the same reason. He feels like Major League Baseball didn't do enough to punish these guys. So and he has a point. Really, he does have a point, because if you look at what Pete Rose did, and the fact that he bet on baseball, and of course, yes, he did bet on his own team, the Cincinnati Reds. Now, he's never said that he bet on them to lose, which would indicate the idea of throwing the game. He always bet on them to win, and I believe that, because if you're a manager or a player that really believes in yourself and really believes in your team, you're gonna think you're gonna win every game. So so I get that.
Cocky as hell as well.
Well, yeah. So I get that, but if that's the case, and that's what he did, it didn't really give his team any kind of an unfair advantage. There really was no cheating involved, even though it was illegal to bet and gamble when you were a Major League Baseball player at the time. It was actually illegal to gamble on any level. It was against Major League Baseball rules, but especially betting on baseball. I really feel like he has a case now, because, of course, he's going back to baseball and saying, look, it's time to lift the ban on me. It's time to get, even if I'm not allowed to be in baseball again, at least allow me to go into the Hall of Fame. At least allow me to be around baseball. And I agree with him. If this is all you're going to do to the Houston Astros organization, then yes, you heavy-handed it on Pete Rose, and you slap on the wrist the Houston Astros, in my opinion.
And that's, I've always been a fan of Pete Rose. I've always, he's cocky, he's arrogant. I don't like him as a person. There's some things that he just, he's not a nice man. But when you take a look, but neither was Ty Cobb, and look where Ty Cobb is.
Right.
But if you take a look at his accomplishments on the field, why he's not in the Hall of Fame is an injustice.
Absolutely.
Because he did nothing during his playing career, to better himself. He did not, he didn't take drugs. He didn't do, anything like that. He didn't steal signs. He didn't do whatever, all these people say, they do. And yet he's not in.
And
this
he
goes
did
him away from the, Barry Bonds. Why isn't Barry Bonds? I would never want Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, because his numbers came because he cheated. Pete Rose's numbers did not come from cheating. They came from playing, and they came from playing the game the way it should have been played. Charlie Hustle, I mean, I never saw anyone play the game as hard, as he did and with as much intensity.
Yep.
And, everything that he did happened while he was a manager. Well, they're not putting him in the Hall of Fame as a manager. They're putting him in as a player. And that's what they should do. And with this whole thing, without a single player being, suspended, being taken away from the game. I mean, you go back to Joe Jackson, you go back to Pete Rose, then why the hell are they not in there? If you're not going to hand out the suspension to the Houston Astros players like you did to these other people, are you kidding me? Where's the consistency that you've had through these years?
Oh, there is none. There's no consistency. And a lot of people like to complain about other sports leagues, namely the NFL, Roger Goodell, for not having any consistency when it comes to punishment. This just showed me that it's not just one league. It's not just the way one team is viewed or anything like that. This is all the way across the board. It's like they're making it up as they go along.
Well, and it is. And if you take a look at it, Roger Goodell, why does he do it? Well, he goes up against the players, and so forth, and the players union and so forth, and the players are against it, and yada yada yada. In this instant, we have players coming out against Houston. We have players saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to throw the ball at the Houston Astros when I pitch."
Oh yeah,
it's not the players saying no, they shouldn't be punished. The players saying yes, they should be punished. In baseball, the league holding it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a totally different rules here, and I really think that baseball has set themselves up that you're going to see more of this, and it's like, okay, so what happens if we get caught? $5 million fine. Yes, the manager and the general manager may lose their job, and we may lose some draft picks, but look what we might get if we do well. And, we can set it up with the manager and the GM that they get fired. Hey, we give them a golden parachute. What the heck, huh? This leads up a whole different way to allow that to happen without the consequences that there should be.
Right, and it sets a bad precedent is really what you're saying.
Oh, it does.
I completely agree with you. It sets a very bad precedent, and I think going forward, Major League Baseball just put itself in a bad position by not, bringing the hammer down on a lot of these players. Now, I get that, they can say, well, we don't know who did what or who did. Look, you can't run as sophisticated a setup as what they did and not have everybody in the clubhouse at least know about it. Whether they were involved or not, they at least knew about it.
Yeah.
So don't give me the, well, we don't know who did what and who benefited or what. Everybody benefited. Everybody that was on that team benefited. So don't give me that.
I mean, there's enough videos of these games. I mean, who the hell's pounding on the damn trash cans?
Right.
I mean, that's a guy who's up there, radioing down what the hell the pitch is going to be. Well, what happened to that guy? Is that guy still working?
Right.
The person banging on the trash can, sending the signals out. Are they still there? Have they been punished? There's a lot of different elements of this whole scandal that they have not even investigated or done anything about. And that's the thing. I mean, even the owner. Do you think the owner didn't know this? Good God, the owner knew what the hell was going on. They had to.
Yeah, he'd be a fool if he didn't. I guarantee I wouldn't have something that I paid that much money for, invest that much money in, and not know what's going on every minute of every day. So, right. Yeah, he'd be an idiot owner if that was the case.
And the thing is now you got to sit there and wonder about the talent of the Astros players themselves. Do they actually have? I mean, yes. I mean, they still have to hit the ball. They still have to catch the ball, field it, and pitch, and everything else. But how much of this was influenced by knowing what pitch is coming in, by knowing what was happening, and so forth? And do you take those records? Do you take the stats that these players put up? Springer, Altuve, Correa. I mean, all these guys. Bregman. Do you take these and you throw them out? No, they aren't doing that.
No.
They aren't adjusting them. They aren't doing anything with them. But the other thing is they aren't saying it was wrong.
Right.
They aren't saying that the players were wrong. They're just saying, hey, the coach and the GM were wrong. That's it.
You know what I'll be interested in? I'll be interested in about 20 years when it comes time for some of these guys to, like Altuve and them, to start getting into the Hall of Fame conversation. I'll be interested to see what the Hall of Fame voters decide to do coming back to this. I mean, right now we have no idea. Nobody has really come out and said, "Hey, when that time happens."
I'm just interested to see the next 3 to 5 years, Steve. What happens in the next 3 to 5 years with their stats? Where do they go?
Well, yeah, that too. But you just kind of you sparked my thoughts into spiraling this all the way forward. When you extrapolate this out to the end of their playing careers, and you start talking about Hall of Fame, because look what happened during the steroid era. During the steroid era, when these guys came out, a lot of them they get nothing for Hall of Fame votes comparatively.
Oh no! When you take a look at Bonds, you take a look at Sosa, you take a look at Clemens, you take a look at Palmeira. These Pettit. Are guys that had. I mean, they had huge. Who was the other pitcher? Musina.
Andy Pettit.
Andy Pettit. You start taking a look at some of these pitchers and players, and they have all these stats and everything else, but oh my God, steroids and this, and they don't get voted on.
Right, exactly.
Is the same thing going to happen to these players? Go, oh my God, they had the trash can beating incident going on.
Trash can beating incident.
Hey,
if anybody refers to it as that, I'm buying them a beer. I'm telling you right now, that is great.
But I mean, do they take this into consideration then when they're voting? For the Hall of Fame.
Right, exactly. That's exactly my point. You wonder what that's going to do to them later on down the road. So even though those players aren't paying for it now, they might end up paying for it later. Not to mention the fact that if you have controversy in your name, because they're being called out in the media, they're being called out by other players, even though Major League Baseball is not doing anything about it, they're being called out somewhere. And if that's
but they still have a job that's paying them millions and millions of dollars a year.
This is true, but for how long?
Take a look at A-Rod. Do you think A-Rod really cares he's not in the Hall of Fame right now?
No. I'm sure he does not. But that's not. To my point. They have jobs right now, but what happens when those contracts are up and the Astros don't need them anymore? Where are they going to go? What team is going to pick them up saying, "Oh, hey, these guys were part of that whole controversy"? I don't know if we necessarily want to give this guy a whole bunch of money to come to our team and be a distraction.
No, but I can tell you that they will still have contracts. There'll still be people after them. And that's the thing.
Maybe.
Because they're going to take a look at what their stats were. They aren't going to care about the sign stealing. Hey, this guy can still throw up 30 home runs a year. They still, the defense that they play, they'll take a look at their defense. Altuve's still one of the best defensive second basemen out there. You take a look at this and you go, okay, hey, I could still use that player. They still make contact in that, and someone's going to give them a contract. Someone will. But, the thing is it comes down to, once you have, $80 million, how much more do you need?
Well, this is true.
Unless you're Bill Gates or, Jeff Bezos or someone like that, how much more do you need?
Well, this is true. And, obviously it is up to Major League Baseball to set a standard, and they've failed to do so. So, circling back to that, that's exactly what this sums up. They failed to set a standard for what we're going to do if you do this. The punishment is not enough, and it won't be enough, and they just failed. They failed in this entire thing. It is what it is, and it stinks. It stinks to high heaven. Almost as if Rob Manfred says, "Well, we don't want you to do this, but we're not really going to do anything if you do." So.
It's amazing. Manfred's been in the job for 3 years, and he's already got this on. It's like, hey, every one of these commissioners, all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, somebody call Bud Selig. Get him back.
Bud
we need him back.
Bud's sitting there drinking a beer, going, "Good God, I'm glad this happened after my tenure."
Yeah, right. Yeah, I only had to deal with the steroid thing, and that wasn't even a thing until about the time I was leaving. So.
Yeah, the steroid thing, the All-Star game that we called a draw because we ran out of pitchers.
I mean, that was
just a couple different things.
That was a clown show. It was a total clown show.
Let me ask you, as a former Cubs player, or as a Cubs fan,
I was going to say, I don't know who you're talking to. I'm not.
Yeah, I know. But as a Cubs fan, this I'm getting the former Cubs. What do you think about the Astros having former Cubs manager Dusty Baker now behind the bench?
Well, I mean, did I say that they weren't punished enough? Because
I know. I was saying the same thing. I mean, I'm going, my God, you really want to take things down that field.
There was your punishment right there. Now you guys got to deal with Dusty Baker for the next couple of years.
That's cool, man. Cool, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's great. That's cool.
That's cool, man. Where's my toothpick at? Where's my toothpick?
Oh my God. Yeah,
I sat there. I can remember I sent that to you. Dusty Baker, really? Wow.
Yep. Good luck, Astros. Yeah, you guys are going to have a great time.
You go from one of those young managers who's up and coming like AJ Hinch, and you go to Dusty Baker. Wow.
Yeah. Yes, I'm very sure that the Houston Astros probably received condolences cards from the Chicago Cubs and the San Francisco Giants and the Cincinnati Reds. All
and the Washington Nationals.
And the Washington Nationals. They probably all said, "Look, bro, this is not good."
Yeah, it's like my gosh, let's take a look at the Washington Nationals with everything they had and how bad they played under. I mean, as far as getting to the playoffs and then just really just sucking under him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. My dog just entered the studio and she wanted to see what was going on. So,
is this the new one?
Yes, it is the new dog. She is all kinds of excited.
I was still pushing for the name Kelsey. I thought that would have been great.
Yeah, we ended up going with Segan. So that's what she. But I mean, the other dog is Loki, so it only makes sense.
There you go.
But she's a moose. She's a big moose. but she's a lover, and that's awesome.
Hey, I am looking forward to getting back into the baseball talk with you, and then we've got NFL draft coming up too.
It is. The NFL draft is coming up. We're gonna see Joe Burrow's career go to pot by going to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I used to have respect for him until I listened to him talk after that win. So that's another discussion at another time.
Yes, we're definitely, and we are going to get into that at another time. Speaking of which, it is our time to get going. But you guys stick around because we do have all kinds of stuff coming up. Like Steve just said, the NFL draft is coming up shortly. The combine is right around the corner. We've got all kinds of great stuff coming out of baseball. The March Madness is getting ready to heat up. We've got the conference tournaments are all going to be happening here shortly. So we've got a lot to talk about.
You got NBA and NHL winding down. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming up here.
The stretch runs in both of those leagues. So, yeah, it's going to be great stuff. Be sure to check out the Facebook page. We don't say that often enough. It's still the same Facebook page, The Cheap Seats with Steve and Steve. And you can also follow me on Twitter. It's at the – whoa, easy, guys. The dogs are over here talking.
All right.
It's
they want to get in on the show.
Yeah, I guess. It is what's my Twitter handle again? Oh yeah, at TheWillis76. I can't believe I forgot that just now. So little brain fart there. It's too early. All right, we're gonna get out of here. For Steve Detterman, this is Steve Willis. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.